It's Radio Skid Row 88.9, and you know who it is? It's our second show.
It is. We've got
You're
it.
listening to Good Smoke.
We made it.
Eventually. We're still a bit off time, but we're still here anyway. You know how it is. And we got some good news with the Good Smoke.
We got good news in the Good Smoke. We got special guests in the room. Good guests.
Who's the special guest? Do you want to do a bit of the intro first? Let's talk about 9550-9552. Call that number if you want to join in the conversation. Also, radioskidrow.org. And also goodsmoke.com.au. Check out all the information on there. And from there, you can just get to know us. But other than that, let's get straight into it.
Don't forget as well to support the radio station.
True.
Yeah. You probably
but radioskidrow.org.
Anyway, here we go. The
Put
special guest.
spot.
I did. The special guest in the room today is in the studio is two guests. And they were here about 4 years ago, which is weird because we've been talking about how a lot of this birthed and started growing some legs 4 years ago. So it was an idea beforehand, and 4 years ago we started dreaming like, wait a sec, this could actually turn into something. And one of our first guests during that time was the crew from Ruckus Cafe in Newport Beach. So there was a team of Tom Morrison, Sean Pereira, and Matt Whiteley. I'm pretty good, eh? Hey, I got the names there. I wrote this down. No, I didn't. I
remember that day. You remember also there was a little thing they used to do with the coffee cups. Was it you put a verse or
no? Matt would. Matt would out of the pile. I don't know if anyone's been in a coffee shop. They usually have piles of coffee cups, and that's they just pick one at a time as they make your coffee. And Matt's coffee shop at the time, Ruckus, would have a Jesus drawn on by him on one of the cups, right? Or was it drawn on by you initially?
It was a stamp.
Okay. Well, he drew. Used to draw stuff like that. Anyway, a stamp on one of the cups, and if you got that Jesus cup, your coffee was free, or your drink was free.
That's one of the things I remember. And we had an interview with him 4 years ago here with his co-workers as well, and it was just really popping off then, eh? Like you were really excited, and we're talking about like last week about childlike excitement.
Yeah, man, and
it was like
he's full of it. We just before we got on air, I was talking about how Matt is Kanye without the Kanye. Like he's like
just the yay,
the fashion tip. Yeah, just the yay. He's just the yay, and I'm like,
Matt A.
He's just such a cool character, and like lights up a room, and is really that guy that if you've met him once, you can't really forget him. But he's joined us here today, and it's weird because it's come full circle, and we probably couldn't think of a better no hatred on Khan. Our friend Khan Paydas was actually going to be a guest this week, and he couldn't come because of a few personal circumstances. But in how things work out, it turns out like, man, this is probably, we didn't even know the 4 years ago. It ends up working out like everything starts coming into place, right. And so much more fitting. There's the word. So Matt since then has come
Matt
full
also
circle.
Brought a sidekick.
Yeah, he's brought a sidekick.
Yeah,
and along the way he's found a sidekick.
Two sidekicks.
Two sidekicks. And that sidekick.
Wow.
Sidekick was
was the sidekick 4 years ago?
Yeah, and that was I think it was the first date they came. First or
second date.
Second date
brought her to Skid Row, the radio
like
station.
Obviously,
we're something new now, but
yeah,
she thought I was so cool.
Yeah, it was.
Then she learned. Then she realized. She said to me, "Babe, I thought you were so cool." And I'm like, "What?" And now she doesn't.
100%. I'm just thinking, hey, any cats out there that want to lock down a girl, married, everything,
become friends with us.
Come to the radio station. Yeah, bring on. I'll bring you to the radio show as a date. Locked in.
Totally. They only charge $200 as well. So
I wish.
It's a pretty affordable.
That's how we got these cameras.
We didn't. Hey, I swear. Hey, can someone send us $200 though? That would be really helpful. We'd need that. No.
So Good Smoke now does first dates at the radio station. So if you want to feel cool, become friends with us. Anyway, let's get into it.
So yeah, our guest, Matt Whiteley.
Wait, we did her, and her name's Naomi Whiteley, but she's shy. She said, "No, I'm not going to say anything."
Yeah, let's just say hello at least. Come on, give the listeners.
Hello, this is Naomi Whiteley, and she's definitely not a sidekick. Like she's I think
main kick.
Oh my goodness,
she's the main kick.
Think about this. I just met Matt outside, and Matt's notoriously late, right? And he was early for us. So he called me before the radio and goes, "Hey, we're here." And I'm going, "What do you mean? Here where?" It's like, "You're from the Northern Beaches." We were 25 minutes early. And so when we got here, and he goes, "Man, she's changed me already. I would have never. Wow. I wanted to leave to go get a feed because we were half an hour early." She goes, "No, we're staying." It's like,
that's mad.
And so she's already changed.
Like that
they locked you
down. Be on time with
so no sidekick, bro. No sidekick.
Like
that's the main cart.
You should invest.
That's the main cart right there. That's Batman. Straight out.
So it was 4 years ago. So when they came here and he was working in a cafe, and what we're gonna do today is just maybe talk from that point on and see where you've come and what happened with the cafe and
see what's going on.
Other avenues going through. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Good Smoke. This is Matt Whiteley. How are you, Matt?
Mate, I'm doing good.
How was the travel over the bridge?
Mate, so far to come.
Good on you.
Nah, it's all good.
So where you from,
We need to get
Matt?
out of the beaches more often, mate.
Yeah, I know.
So where are you from in Sydney?
From Avalon, actually.
So for all y'all don't know,
Avalon's
that's
nice,
in
man.
the northern beaches, right? Where it's just close
just shy
to
of Palmy.
Palm
Beach.
Where
Home and Away.
Home and Away is filmed,
Home
right?
and Away, yeah.
Oh,
Summer
wow.
Bay.
For
It's
those
so funny, all the
flaming
tourists
UK
they go, is
listeners.
this Summer Bay?
Flaming Galah.
Yeah.
But like Summer Bay doesn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's not a real
It doesn't?
place.
What do you mean?
No, it's made
Where are
up.
they filming?
What do you mean?
Is it a set?
Don't tell. Are you going to tell me
Isn't it
Ramsey
out-
Street is real? Do you think Ramsey Street is real?
It's
as well?
a real place, though.
Yeah, it's a place.
Yeah,
It's not a
So
set.
that's what I believe.
Yeah. Summer Bay
Dreams-
is fictional.
Yeah,
Like
okay. Yeah,
obviously it's
There's
not a
place.
set.
Yeah.
but
That's what I'm
It's
getting.
Palm Beach.
See, I got you on that.
Nice,
one.
AKA
nice.
Summer Bay.
But it's beautiful out there, man.
Yeah, it's good. We're
like,
blessed.
There's Northern Beach has got some nice little hotspots there, man. Like beaches and that, and just the little food places there. Some of them are nice, you know. In Sydney, where I'm in the city, it's just overdone. Man.
Oh, you guys have got a
No,
plethora there.
yeah,
You got.
man.
Yeah,
you
I
got
I don't know about
choice.
Eddie. I live in a cool spot.
Yeah, he
Eddie
does,
lives
but I
in
live
Kenzo.
closer to the city, you know. So getting parking, you just got to catch
The
buses. and
parking
stuff.
sucks.
Yeah,
Headache.
that's what I'm
Parking
saying.
sucks.
Headache.
Or you got to pay for parking. So if you go on a date, you either keep going back and forth or just get fined all the time. Yeah, just pay the fine. But yeah, but
Catch a bus.
with you were working at a cafe at that point. At that point when we first saw you come in.
Yeah, no. Well, actually, me and my two ex-business partners, still good friends though. Still good friends.
That sounds,
We,
those fighting words.
Well,
No,
you
no,
know,
Jay, no,
the three of us in the
Shouts out
business,
to them.
and we had an American girl working for us, and
Yeah.
she said that a three-way partnership in a business is the highest risk
Ooh.
business that you can have. And we made it work. Like we never had fights. We never had any arguments. It was just the end of a chapter. We
Just moved
the
on.
other so basically what happened was the other two boys approached me and said, hey, we want to offer you the coffee company. So we also owned a coffee roastery, which we bought about a year into starting the cafe.
Yeah, you were saying that.
And that's
Yeah, I
called
remember that.
That's called Kingdom Coffee,
Yeah.
Kingdom
Oh,
Coffee
nice.
Roasters. It was originally called Unground, and I worked for the guy who owned Unground, and then we started the cafe, and
Wow.
it just was weird because I was still doing all the roasting, and then I was having to buy back the coffee off the guy
the
that I
guy.
was working for. So we bought the coffee company about a year into owning the cafe, and then the boys basically gave me the coffee company for my share in the cafe. And yeah, it was all good. It was totally amicable, and we had no falling out. So yeah, it was a great
curious,
experience.
How does that work? Like, because you said that they approached you. Did they approach you randomly?
No, well, we found out that we were only going to have 18 months left on the lease, and they were going to knock the building down.
Oh, okay.
So Sean, Sean's one of my best mates. And
Sean's the best.
Sean
Hey,
came in
shouts
the
out to
last
Sean.
time. He
That's
was
right.
here.
Yeah, I remember. He's
And
the one with
He's
the
a
beard,
G.
right?
I like
Big
it.
beard.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Chubby, he's awesome.
Hey, but the
Shout out to the
nicest
chubby guys
cat.
out
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Love you guys, man.
Chubby guys are.
They need
just-
us in wintertime, man.
They're nice,
They
though.
need us guys. out there.
My wife sent me a meme today. Better to have a dad bod because like everyone with a six pack, like it's uncomfortable to lie on.
Oh.
They generally aren't as funny. But if you've got a dad bod, he said makes for a good pillow. Always down for a burger. Binge drinking on the regular. Usually funnier than the average male.
Exactly. man.
Hashtag team dad bod.
Exactly.
Nice, nice.
Shout out to all the dad bods out there.
Yeah, I'm already there. You know, the baby's on the way.
I've got
32 weeks.
I've got my dad bod before I get my kids, so just to get used to, you know.
Yeah, prep.
generally-
Totally.
work,
That's
prep work.
pragmatic.
Exactly. I'm just being smart, thinking ahead of the curve. You know?
Totally.
But anyway, as we go on,
So the building was going to get demolished.
Yeah, so they're going to knock the building down, and Sean just breathes the business, you know, like that's his life, and he, I think, was just thinking long term, and so he approached me, and he was shaking. It was pretty funny, like, and Sean's not
He's not a confrontational dude at all.
not
He's
confrontational,
really nice dude.
not and he's not really a nervous guy.
No,
either,
he's
but
a
he was-
businessman.
Yeah, breeds business,
Yep.
but he was like, oh, and so I knew from his body language something was up, you know, I could tell, and
okay,
he was
yeah.
like, so, just, and I'm thinking, oh, here it comes,
yeah,
and he
yeah.
said, oh, so I want to give you the coffee company, and I stood up and I go, you're buying me And he's like, no, it's not like that. It's not like that. And I'm like, bro, it's all good. I'm just joshing you. Tell me what your plan is. And just with the baby on the way, and it's the end of a chapter. You know, start of something new. And I think everything has a season. Everything has a beginning and an end.
Yeah,
and
for sure, yeah.
you know, just like this radio show, it had a beginning and had an end, and now, you know, you're at the start of a new beginning.
I thought you were going to say, and you know, final show today. Thanks for tuning in to
first and
episodes.
Final show. So to everyone listening,
You were talking about there was a lot of risk taking a business on with 3 people, and there's a lot of people out there, including my family. They run a business as well. Having 3 people, what are the difficulties? What do you have to like worry for?
I think you've got to know your role, and you've got to know what your partner's strengths and weaknesses are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you can navigate having different roles and not feeling the need to have all the roles, then you can make it work. I think a lot of businesses go under when they're in a partnership because one person feels the need to oversee all aspects of the business. And for me, like, I totally had my hands off the money and the book side of things, which was fine by me. Like, I trusted you got to obviously trust your business partner. And I know a lot of people have been burned, you know,
in life in general, but yeah, with business as well.
Because they've extended the trust as well, you know.
Totally.
And with money involved, it's a life source. So
totally.
Yeah. Well, not life source like water or anything like that, but I mean like life source.
No, but it's good to have.
Yeah, that's right. It's handy.
But it's true. A lot of people do say, like, you know, you could know someone, and as soon as you get into business with them, everything changes. Like, it's like that person you knew no longer 100%. Exists. So was there a fear of that coming in? Like, think about it, like, you're investing money, time, and future in a sense.
Yeah. Well, especially, so I had already worked for Sean previously, but the other business partner was his cousin. And I'd never met his cousin, Tom.
Okay,
so I'd never met Tom at all.
I had worked with Tom, by the way, just
at Chelsea.
A little every now and then.
Yeah. So I mean,
shout out to Tom.
I just saw, and Tom's awesome. Like, we got along so well, and you know, that in itself, of course, was a risk to go into, like a massive risk now in hindsight, to go into a business with someone you've never even met.
Oh, but for sure, yeah.
We just got along really well, and you know, like, I'm a believer in Jesus, believe in God, and I just think he goes before you, you know, like, especially if you give him the time of day, he gives you the time of day in return. And I feel like he has blessed so many aspects of my life, but in particular the business, the fact that we managed to make it work, and we didn't just make it work, it flourished. Like, it's a great business. It's still doing really well. It
created itself like a brand as well. Like, Ruckus is I feel like a brand in the Northern Beaches a bit now as well.
Yeah. Clothing, yeah.
Merch.
I just pointed at my wife, like, yeah, talk about the clothing. She just shook her head. Nope.
And regardless, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you see on the video anyway. So
yeah. If you're watching online
and go in there,
and you're like, who's this mystery woman
in the background?
You can go on.
We want her
online.
to speak, so don't think Matt is being like cruel husband saying don't speak.
Yeah, totally.
We want her to speak. Yeah. But as you were saying about that, you're saying that you believe in God and He sets up roads.
Yeah.
To go ahead and opportunities, you know, stuff like that.
Totally.
And a lot of people like will go, oh, that's weird, you know. But even with the world saying like intuition led me that way, or I felt like I needed to go that way.
Yeah.
What was your like? What are these? Or how do you recognize that first of all? Like,
what were the telltale signs that you go, okay, wait, this seems like God?
Look, I think this is such a simple test, and anyone can do. It's just having peace about it. You know, we do a lot of things in life, and we have an unrest in our, like, I would say, in our spirit or in our soul. For those of you who don't believe, it might be, you know, just a sense of uncomfortability or feeling like chest, something, in your chest feeling, or in your gut. You know, people say, it was a gut decision, and sometimes we get it wrong in our gut as well. But like, just like you were saying before, Eddie, like you were setting up a light, so obviously you guys weren't here for it, but pre
Good Smoke show.
Before the show started.
Yeah, before the show started, Eddie was setting up a light, and the bulb had gone, and he goes, "Damn it! I knew."
He knew.
I knew it as I was walking out the door. Yeah. It was like that voice in your head said,
"Yeah, that's right.
You should get a second bulb."
Yeah, and because past things has happened like that too, and I started to listen to that.
Yeah,
and and I didn't know why I didn't listen. Like I should have listened, but a lot of things like that happened to me through like just when as a kid as well, like even as a child, but recognize it as you get older that it is something real, you know. So
totally.
But to do that with like for me, I put my hat off to people that do it because to run on that through a business, you know, something metaphysical, something that you don't see, and to apply it to something like business and family, and like you got to support your wife and the kids. That's like a real hard thing to do, man, for people, you know, to think, do I trust in this process or do I have to force it and put everything into pieces? You know?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
for sure.
totally.
For sure. I think like just because even as you're saying that, I'm reminded of a story where a guy felt he had to trust in a circumstance, but ultimately, if it didn't work out, he went to jail. And so that ultimately changes now, trusting if it doesn't work out, who cares if it doesn't work? Now you do care if it doesn't work out because the other option is life or death sort of thing, you know. And so did you ever find like coming up, you starting a family, you're in uncharted waters a bit in regards to the Ruckus Cafe giving you a bit of like trying to buy you out, in the nicest way, loving way. But in doing so, like, did you find yourself like, oh crap, like did you get to that place first? Like did you go through a bunch of processes, or did you literally just go, okay, I'll pick up the piece from here and keep going?
Yeah.
Nate's giving a smile there. He's like, I can answer that one. No, I'm joking.
Feel free.
Yeah, look, I would have expected actually in hindsight to be quite apprehensive about it, but I was pretty cool with it. You know, I really felt like the timing was right, and you know, I'd come home from work, like check your attitude. I think, what's your attitude about what you're doing? There's a lot of people stuck in jobs that they hate, and they come home, and the way that you speak about anything is an indicator of your heart. You know, like out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. And if you're coming home from work and going, you know, work sucks, and my feet hurt. Like I would get home every afternoon, I'd be like, my feet. Like we do 11-hour days. There's a lot of standing, and you just get home and you do a 55-hour week standing. You just feet are dead, right?
And your back gone.
Bag's gone. Like,
and even your brain, the hospitality, you got to be always on the ball.
And I'm high, like I'm a high person. I'm like full of energy. So I'm like, it's like 4:00 and I'm still trying to be like, yo, hey,
what's good? Yeah, no.
And I get home and my wife's like, anything happened today you want to talk? And I just need to sit in silence because
that's right. Yeah, I feel you, man.
Kind of fried a bit.
I'm fried.
I was actually talking to a friend the other day, and he was talking about how sometimes he'll have a day that's such a struggle at work, whether it's a person he has to deal with or things not working out, and he found himself going like, man, if I go home, even though I can't wait to get home, I'm still carrying a lot of the things that I just want to offload and talk crap about and really get off my chest. So what me and him were talking about is, hey, feel free to give me a holler if you ever feel like that, so that before you get home, the worst out of the way, you know, and now you can just realize, you know, but it's all good. What's that, you know, like I'm coming, you know, like, so I feel like it's really, really important to not let that overflow find its way in straight away in the household as well, because it becomes toxic as well sometimes.
Totally. No, I think having someone to talk to about stuff, you know, because like you can love your job and still have issues. Like it was a bad day or whatever. I'm not saying that, but when it becomes a habitual
every day is a struggle
every day, and you're talking about it, and you know, I guess we're in a fortunate position where we don't have huge overheads. Obviously, we've got a baby on the way, but we don't have a huge mortgage, and our rent isn't too bad, and so it's slightly easier for us to make a change. But I totally, you know, I understand there's people out there going, yeah, good one, mate. Like I got 4 kids and a mortgage. Like I can't change job, and so it's not always easy for people, and I understand that. But you know, I think that's where for me having faith and believing that there is a path, and you know, the Bible says that God works all things together for the good of those who love him. And so I just really trust that, and there is a way, even when it feels impossible. And some people just never take the risk or take the leap of faith, which is required to do something new, do something bold. And, you know, it's just for me, the last thing I want to do is get to the end of my life and be like, man, I should have
Yeah, should have.
Of course.
Shoulda,
Could've,
coulda.
Yeah.
Totally.
No, for sure.
Hey, straight out of high school, what was the plan?
Oh, I had no plan. My dad was always on my case, and it was such a point of consternation between us.
Yeah.
Because he just wanted the best for me.
Yeah,
He
of
didn't want
course.
me
Yeah,
to
for
miss,
sure.
like all parents.
Yeah.
Shouts out to your
But are
dad
you
for being present.
Are you understand? Are you understanding? Are you understanding that now as you go older, or did you see that when you were young? You're like, oh, he's only helping me. Nah. Yeah.
No, I see it now, of course, but there was a lot of tension between us
Yeah.
when I was probably between 18 and, even early 20s. Like I went to university, I got 2 degrees, but I did it from the wrong place.
Was that a flex? Or did you just flex?
Yeah.
I got 2 degrees.
One is Des, one is Troy.
Yeah.
Oh,
One
yeah.
is Des, one is Troy. That's the
That's
best.
awesome.
Yeah.
yeah. As you were saying.
Oh, no, my degrees are literally, I say this in all humility, I can't remember a thing about them.
Yeah.
I could not tell you what I learned.
'Cause your heart
I did
wasn't
an
in it.
arts degree and I did an honours degree in arts. And if you ever do an arts degree, you don't, to be honest with you, you don't learn anything. So,
Wow. Shouts out to the arts department. Eh?
yeah, if you're doing a Bachelor of Arts, change now. Do a degree that will get you a job.
Yeah.
Because an arts degree is just not going to cut it.
Yeah.
So, like I did university, and I extended university, a 3-year degree. I turned it into 7. So
Nice.
I really stretched
Lock
that bad
one in,
boy
eh?
out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I did that from a place of not knowing what I was meant to be doing and what path I was meant to be on, and so.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Just even from what you're saying now, it seems like leaving was too scary, so it was almost easier to prolong this process until I figure it out.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, okay.
Totally. And that's why I said before, you don't want to get old and have regrets. Like I already have some regrets about my 20s because I spent 7 years at university. Like far out. I wish I could go back and turn it into probably none and say, I'd rather put those 7 years while you're young into something you're passionate about. Like I look at you guys and, you're doing something you love. You're doing radio and you've got the blog that Brenno's just written an awesome
shouts out to
blog.
Brenno.
Had a read of that today.
Yeah.
So you should check that out.
Little plug for
a little
us.
plug.
Good
Hey.
Smoke.
Goodsmoke.com.au.
Goodsmoke.com.au.
That's right, yeah.
Have a read of Brenno's article. You might understand what good smoke is.
That's
Yeah,
right,
and what we're trying to highlight. Maybe every week you'd look for it a bit differently in every interview, but yeah, continue on.
Yeah, but so okay, now we'll go through the timeline. So you left Ruckus Cafe, and now you went into something new. What was that, and why that?
Yeah, so obviously the circumstance presented itself for me to change what I was doing, but that was something that was quite organic in the sense that we already had this business and it had been slightly neglected, the coffee roasting side of the business. Like I'd been running it, but I'd also been, most of my hours were at the cafe, so not a lot of my hours were spent on the coffee side of the business. And
The other time was spent dating as well?
dating,
Yeah.
yes.
Always Naomi in the
Which
background.
led
obviously.
to being married. So my
Yeah.
beautiful wife, we've been
Congratulations.
married a year now, just a
Nice.
year and a half, since
Wow.
February.
We'll get into that as well about
2018.
marriage. We have to talk about that stuff.
Yeah, lots of lessons.
A little fun fact for you, ladies and gentlemen out there: the 3 guys in here are all 33 years old. So
33.
we're pretty much on the same wavelength at
Yeah.
the moment. So yeah, this is why the interview, if you can't feel it or not, there's a flow in
Can
here.
you
So
feel
like-
Totally.
it?
but
and
yeah,
weren't you saying earlier, like, Brenno was saying you'd asked a couple of people to be on the show and their natural instinct was like someone couldn't make it, obviously, but then other people were just a bit reluctant, a bit hesitant. And I think, in life, it's all, like anything that's new can be scary. Like most people haven't been on radio. So like,
100%. Yeah, 100%.
well, get this, man. Like we've been on radio for how long now, and now we've just got these cameras up trying to film it, and I've got that same first nervousness that I came when I
From back
on
in
radio.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And I'm battling with myself to say, should I be on the radio? Who's gonna look at my head? Like, why what have I got to say? But
Seriously.
then I'm starting to realize I didn't start off with that revelation first. What I did start off was I'm doing it to show people of this country, Australia, Sydney, where I'm from.
Yeah.
And I feel like the whole world's getting presented and everyone's getting known, but Australia's like this: you're either commercial and there's no underground sort of thing, you know. So I just feel like we would want to be one of those people to just everyday people. Like, we need to hear those struggles of people like you that have a missus that's renting, that's running a business. Those things depress people, man. Like, I've got friends that talk to me like, I've got everything, money, cars, all these houses. I'm happy, but I'm not fulfilled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't have the feeling of like, is this life? Is this real? Like, I'm on an earth. I was just born in here. Like, I don't even know how this all started. Yet I've just got a business and like, I'm not fulfilled, sort of thing. So that's why I want to bring people like you in. Then, you know, the more that you speak, trust me, people out there are listening. They're like, wow, there's other people going through it. Yeah. And the more the interviews we do, the more that we get the word out there.
Get people that relate and stuff.
Give people perspective, and everyone's on a journey. And
everyone's on their screens these days. So if we can't get them through like personal one-on-one interaction, we can get them through through the screen that they use.
Totally.
So now, how long have you been in this next step and this roasting business?
We've been in it for 3 months now. Okay. And it's going well. Like, we were lucky that we inherited a business that was profitable. But look, it's not a lot. We're not rolling in it. That's for sure.
Yeah, not for sure.
So, but we actually have a real big heart for turning it into Australia. I believe it's Australia's first non-for-profit coffee roaster. So that's the goal.
Wow. You've heard it here first.
Yeah.
Straight out.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Hopefully we can make that a reality. At the moment, we donate a certain portion of the money that we make to different charities. It's not set up as a non-for-profit. There's a lot of red tape to get through that stuff.
Sure,
but,
of course,
you know, and a lot of, like, in defense of a lot of other coffee companies out there, not all of them, but a lot of them, they're doing great initiatives with farmers, social initiatives, putting money back into the farms, making sure the farmers are taken care of, paying a good price for their coffee, green bean price, and so there's a lot of companies doing great stuff. It's not at all a slight on them. It's just that we found, for whatever reason, there's none of them have identified as a non-for-profit and put the giving side of things first. It's always feels like, to me, it's like a bit of a tack on, you know, like
a promo for their business almost. To say
like we do good coffee. Oh, and we look after the farmers. Like that's sorry, maybe I'm being a bit cynical.
No, but I understand where you're coming from. I understand the heart of it.
It's like it's almost this adds to a selling point more than a mission statement.
Yeah, than actually helping people. And I mean that's probably pretty hypocritical of me to say now, because we're so.
You're on radio right now. Now, Jake.
Well, I got to make a living, and we've got to pay our rent and everything, and you know, so it's.
So you're practical and understand,
Yeah, of course, but
I think as you.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But the more you chip at that and try to make it a non-for-profit. I think people's minds will start to change and see that I can give you this, you can give me that, we can work each other.
Yeah, a bit like the thank you, the thank you products when you buy water.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So we totally see it as being like the
thank you water. For
it's roasters. The Toms of the coffee
Toms,
beans.
Yeah, even the Toms. The Tom shoes. Have you seen that?
Buy a pair. And they send a
and
pair.
And they do glasses now as well.
Oh, do they?
Shouts out to Toms.
Yeah. So like stuff like that, man. Like, I think Australia had this culture anyway, like, or relatively, like even in Tasmania when I go down there, they have wheelbarrows on the side of the road in some places filled with apples or bags of apples or fruits of that. And they leave a little money box thing there, and you just throw a donation in and you can take a bag, you know, sort of thing.
And you see it in a few suburbs around as well, like not necessarily the suburbs I live in, but like I've seen in a few like funky, like you see it in Dulwich Hill and even in the northern beaches that you're seeing it a bit more, and some funky places, Newtown, but where you'll get a little library. They're like community libraries, but it would just be a little bookshelf in the middle of the street.
There is,
and you swap your books and donate books, like so. And every single time I've seen one of those spots, they've never been like vandalized or abused. It seems like there's a good amount of books there. Clearly sees that. I don't know. It seems like
that's true. In Marrickville Metro,
there's a few spots now.
Marrickville Metro.
I think that's a really cool initiative.
In Marrickville Metro, they got like a bookshelf too, but they also got this a wall filled with like studs coming out of metal, and they hang the recycle bags there. So the bags you get from Woolworths, you got to pay 15 cents, right?
Yeah.
People just bring their bags back and put them on the wall.
That's cool.
So that's community. Yeah, that's straight community, bro.
Me and my mum were walking around like, wow, this is mad, because you can
just take all the bags?
Empty it. No. Took half of them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But you could just like, it's mad for like old ladies, stuff like that. You just forget 15 cents, you know. I know it's not much, but if you're buying it adds up eventually after the
Totally.
year.
It does.
You know what I mean?
And then you still feel bad because you took another plastic bag.
Exactly.
You're like, I paid 15 cents for it, like to ease my conscience, really. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still
Exactly.
It's a
adding
conscience
plastic.
tax.
Exactly,
It's a
to the
conscience
world.
tax.
Conscience tax.
It's
That's
a conscience
exactly what it
Exactly.
is.
Do you really want
That's
this?
hilarious.
15
We've got
cents.
these boomerang boxes in Avalon. So I think it's just in Av. And they're called boomerang boxes, and they basically, you come and you put your bags in it. So like recycle your bag.
Oh, yeah,
Boomerang,
yeah,
you know,
okay.
Oh.
Boomerang, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
I thought,
Use a
okay,
bag.
so
People used to scream
I
that out
I
to
don't know
me.
that many people that like have boomerangs. Like I thought it was literally a boomerang once. Like
And they
you
tie
recycle your
tie the
boomerang.
bag to it and you throw it to people. That's pretty good, eh?
No,
Anyway,
that's
listen,
legit.
let's go to a commercial. Let's go to some music.
He sold out.
Let's
folks.
readjust.
He sold out.
No, I didn't
He
sell out.
sold out in
I'm
front of
still
us.
I'm still here. It's Radio Skid Row. This is a Good Smoke. You're chilling with Eddie and Brenno. This one here, I'm going to start with, I don't know if you guys know this artist, Michael Jackson. Do you know?
I think it's pronounced Jackson. The J is he's Latino. Michael
okay.
Jackson. Yeah.
Jackson. This one's they don't care about us, but we do. It's Radio Skid Row.
But we do.
It's Radio Skid Row 88.9. It's Radio Skid Row 88.9, and you're listening to Good Smoke. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? If you just tuned in, we've been talking to Matt and Naomi Whiteley. Sorry,
Wiley.
Wiley.
That's another rapper.
Wiley. No, but mostly to Matt because the other one doesn't really want to talk about it.
She's not yapping. She's not yapping.
She's not even that shy.
know.
She's
In real
she's
life.
good at yarning.
Yeah.
Good yarn.
Anyway, let's continue on. We were talking about Matt and how he's going through his new roasting business as well. That 3 months into it now, and we'll talk about the difficulties and what we can do. Well, that's the thing that I wanted to ask. What are some things daily that you do, like even first thing in the morning, like just to know that you're gonna have an 18-hour day, or whatever, or 11-hour day, and well, how do you prepare yourself for all that?
Well, my hours have subsequently diminished a lot from the hours I was doing at the coffee shop. The roasting only takes a day, so because we're so small, so it's not a lot of time spent roasting. So I've actually got a lot of time on my hands at the moment. So it's refreshingly new for me.
Sounds like you're living the life a bit, because there's a lot of people going, like, I think I was talking to you earlier, like they're trying all these non-9-to-5 style jobs and careers nowadays.
Yeah. I read an article the other day called Side Hustle. Maybe that's a trendy term at the moment, but like most people.
Hashtag side hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a side hustle.
Everyone does.
Got to have a side hustle.
Yeah,
so like your primary income and then your side hustle.
You can literally say that nowadays and seem more professional. Like, what do you do now? Like, you could be a drug dealer and say that that's your side hustle, but never mention what it is. Just call it side hustle all the time. And they go, man, that guy just, hard worker.
Hard worker.
Hey, shouts out to most drug dealers. They're really hard workers.
Yeah. There's a book called Freakonomics. It says it's all about like applying economy, the principles of an economist to like random questions.
Yeah.
And it was like one of his chapters in his book is, why does the average drug dealer continue dealing drugs when it pays like less than minimum wage?
Yeah. Yeah, no, straight out. Yeah.
It's
just
crazy.
do it for the rush, man.
No,
probably.
But that's in America, maybe different here.
No. I agree, but like, I don't know if it's off topic. Not that we have one. But I feel,
smoke.
It's good smoke. I feel like there's actually a lot of people. You might think, okay, it's less than minimum wage. Well, maybe that person can't even get that minimum wage because they can't get that job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Their
True.
resume doesn't look good. I know people personally that they look intimidating. Nothing to do with like their work ethic, how they are as a customer service. They're great people person, like they're people persons. They're persons people, but they're good with people, you know? And but then I know they're not being hired because of either their appearance on their resume, what their photo, their name, like stuff like that. And I know, I don't know. It just seems quite interesting to me that if it's less than minimum wage and the thought of going to jail as well makes it worse than minimum wage, why are they doing it? And it starts coming, like, to me, I'm not saying that there isn't another way out, but maybe that there isn't enough education that there is another way out, at least that, you know what I mean? Because why else would you do it,
Totally.
Like, especially because, don't get me wrong, that's not to say that there's some cats that don't go out there do it because, there has a bit of a reputation with pushing or doing that sort of thing, At least that's what come to mind.
Yeah, look, I haven't been in those shoes, but it'd be interesting if someone called in who's been in those shoes.
That's right, 9550-9552, and call up and join in the conversation. We've got one more spot left for the phone, so you can get your turn and just line up.
We can't even see. Oh, I can see from me. Okay, perfect.
Oh no, I can't see the light.
You can't see the light.
It's good. There's a good four-part show on Netflix called When They See Us.
Yeah,
and it's about the Central Park 5, which was a massive case back in the 80s about
a rape case.
A rape case that happened in Central Park, and these 5 young black American kids copped it and got blamed, and they got coerced into giving these false testimonies.
Wow.
And basically, I thought that would be the scope of the show, but the only reason I'm touching on this is because the scope of the show actually went into talking about what happens when you get out of prison.
Yeah.
So these guys, if I'm
to
ruining it.
No, ruin what? This is
but it's worth watching because
I'm not going to watch it now because I'm just letting you know.
They get out of prison and everyone thinks that they're sex offenders.
Yeah.
So which they weren't. So they've got every job they go to, they've got to bring their CV that says sex offender.
Yeah.
How are they going to get work? They can't work at all these places because if any kids come in or any of the circumstances, one of probably 20 circumstances doesn't tick a box, you can't get a job. And I'm sure there are people out there who have, been to prison or just for whatever reason, like you said before, can't get a job. And so they might be selling drugs or doing whatever they can to make a living. And it raised some interesting questions around.
Well, that's why you got stuff manifesting like the Ubers and those sort of like different business plans where they're starting to work around people's lives instead of trying to make a life out of your work sort of thing, you know what I mean? So you got this like more flexibility. But then again, like, do we need to be like...
Just on that note, like guaranteed there's a bunch of drug dealers benefiting off Uber, their service. It's know what I'm just saying.
Well, if they aren't, they now. If they didn't know now they know.
Sorry, guys.
9550. Starts even the number out. Anyway, I want to go a bit deeper and start getting a bit personal. Obviously, the business is personal, but like more into like marriage and even meeting a girl and stuff like that in our society growing up. Like, because for me, like, it's hard to find a regular place to go to, or anywhere to find that opportunity to get talking to a woman or something like that, like because of work.
Just to let you know, like, even the way you had to tippy-toe around that sentence, the ability to say interact with the opposite sex or like a possible partner, is such a iffy topic nowadays where, like, I could tell, no disrespect to Eddie, because in our heads, I feel like there's almost a disrespectful way to say that. That I'm learning and trying to understand what it looks like to relate with the opposite sex, or even that. Like I'm thinking, did I say wrong or right with opposite sex? But like
just dating.
Yeah, dating.
Just keep it simple.
Oh, but then I feel offended now.
Dating? Is it called dating still? It used to be called courting, and now it's
I think they're two different things.
Now it's
what's it called, babe?
Seeing each other.
Netflix and chill now, isn't it?
She said dating.
Isn't Netflix and chill like the thing?
Yeah,
they've like.
Do you know what I said that recently? I didn't know. I said that in a preach, so I do some preaching, and I didn't know that was. Like
it's negative.
I didn't.
No, when I
realize,
say negative, you didn't realize that has to do straight with baby making. Is that what you're saying?
100%.
Okay. This one would probably be easier for you.
I'm like a 62-year-old trapped in a 33-year-old's body. I had no idea. I'm not with the times. Clearly,
I know what he's saying.
There's this meme that was going around that Netflix and chill is 1 D away from Netflix and child.
Oh, yeah. That's so deep and
that's a deep Netflix joke. Yeah,
that's perfect.
Shouts out to Netflix.
Yeah, so let's start with.
But I think it's spot on. But
let's start with like what I would like to know is how do you guys meet if you're comfortable with that?
I mean, for us it was church. So I tell you, maybe you're not a Christian. Maybe you've never been to church. Not interested in church. I'm telling you. There's some good-looking girls at churches.
Well, hey, we do not endorse
maybe I
this.
shouldn't say that, but I got the babiness girl at our church.
Wow.
And so, it all started at church, and I was fortunate enough to... I was actually doing acting at the time, and we had an acting college as part of the church, and Naomi was overseeing the production for the kids' play, and I was in the kids' play.
Hey, did it help that she was? Okay, that helped.
So
but
she would come and watch.
Did you know that she was like, oh, okay, she's good with kids? Did that have a little thing in the back of your mind at all?
No.
She had
a boyfriend, so I didn't approach her at all. Like it was, but that's where I first met her. But nothing was going on.
You said you didn't approach it physically. I don't think you would have approached it. But did your eyes approach her constantly throughout the room? Would she catch you flirting with the eyes?
I didn't know she had a boyfriend, right? So it was totally innocent eye flirting for a long time, and then
innocent
I remember the moment where I was like, her ex-boyfriend came up to the to where we're doing the production, and she hadn't talked to me, like she hadn't said a word to me, so it was like we really hadn't had a lot of interaction, and I was like, damn. She's got a boyfriend. I remember feeling like that deflated feeling that a lot of men
cuts so deep
have experienced when they see the girl of their dreams with another guy. Damn it. That was the one. I thought that was the one.
And you have those flashes of the future. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I'd played it out. No, I hadn't. But
hey, I fully just pictured in the background while he's watching this, like Mr. Brightside, like, coming out of my cage and I was doing just fine. You're just depressed there, and just crying.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. So look, it didn't start until months later, and she'd stopped dating the previous guy, and even when she texted me, it was totally innocent. It was about a church related thing.
Hey, no, this you're gonna have to talk here, Nate.
You have to have
Was it really
is that the
innocent?
True story?
Was it really innocent? Just be honest, because sometimes I know it can even you even try to pass it on as innocent, and not that it's bad that you had like an intention to start something, but could there have been a little? Hey, I'm gonna.
Did you have flash?
I think there was a little.
Did you even know that, Matt?
No. Says no.
You got it here first, man. Everything you got first.
Bro, I'm just telling you, I don't know if I'm a genius, but that text, like I'm just thinking, that text is a big sign for me, like that. But I might be the weird guy that someone texts me, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Let's get married. But not that that's your scene, but I don't know.
But even saying that, is that something like in society where like we get an attention from a woman and like we just we dive right into them, like give them everything.
We dive right into them. That's assault, Eddie. That's sexual assault.
Dive into the relationship with all commitment and like this sort of like almost like an ignorance to say like, oh, I'm going to give her this. We're going to do this together. We're going to go here and spend all your money in the first 2 months that you've saved up. Is that something that we have a problem with? Like,
I think most men are afraid of looking like they're too keen, and there's obviously a lot of subliminal psychology that we think about on both sides of the fence when it comes to dating, and girls are thinking, like I had a friend who he was just early days texting with a girl, and she kept copying how many X's he'd put at the end of the text message. Like, so he'd put 1, she'd put 1. Yeah. He'd put 2, she put 2. He put 5, she put 5. So he was like, I'm going to put like 21 X's. Like, I'm going to be real specific. And he got 21 X's back. And that was it for him. He was like, no.
He's a 33-year-old man.
Wait, is this Dry Pan? Is this who I'm thinking it is?
Yeah, Deadpan.
Oh, he's Deadpan. That's
Deadpan.
Wow.
Look, we won't use his name.
We won't use his official name.
My good friend Deadpan, his humor is just totally so dry.
One day we'll do a documentary on this Deadpan. Like,
he just goes, mate.
His humor is that good.
So after seeing
I couldn't do it.
21 kisses.
Just couldn't do it,
he
mate.
Stopped?
She kept putting the same amount of X's. This is how he talks.
That's how he legit.
Couldn't do it, mate. Like, send 1 X, get 1 X back. Send 2, get 2 back. Mate, it's ridiculous.
So there was nothing wrong with the girl. It was just that.
Yeah, look. If I was a girl right now, I'd be like, that's ridiculous. This is what we got to deal with. These dumb men.
Hey,
but why do you think he's doing that from his side? Like, what is it that, or why did he get turned off with it?
Probably because I think if you're doing that on the other end, you're not really being authentic. Put the amount of X's you would have put. Don't copy him. Like, be yourself.
If you don't want to put X, don't put an X, bro. Like, or I don't know.
I don't know.
Should we take his advice and just run away, or should we just like say confront the person?
confront them.
Stop
like
putting the same X's.
We need to get better at communicating. Sometimes we over communicate. Like men sometimes don't say enough, and sometimes girls say too much, but sometimes it's the other way around.
Yeah.
In our relationship, I was the one at first I would say too much. And she'd be like, this wasn't a problem until you started saying too much about it. And I was like,
wow.
So some good advice I got as was you don't have to say everything straight away. You can, be patient and exercise wisdom and not be dishonest or misleading. Like from the start, I was super honest with her. I told her all the bad things I'd ever done in my life on the first date, which I kept her waiting over an hour before. Like she was sitting there. I did a drive past because I couldn't get a park. It was raining, and I said I had to call her and say, "Hey, do you reckon you could get the food takeaway?" It was already on the plate.
Wow.
Can you get the food takeaway and bring it out because I can't get a park? And I'd already kept her waiting. She had a cold. It was in the rain.
Wow.
Like our first date, which wasn't a date in inverted
it was a meetup.
commas. It was a meetup, first hangout.
Yeah.
Did not go well. It didn't go well at all. But,
She stayed around.
she did. I don't know. She's a bit crazy. She must be because I thought for sure that first date was it.
But that's what I was going to ask. You were just talking about how in the beginning you talked about everything. You're a big communicator like that. What would be different? Because I feel communication is key in a lot of relationships, and you could almost I feel like with your relationship being where it's at and achieving this level already. Do you reckon communication had a lot to do with your other relationships, like of why they wouldn't reach certain levels, and whether be it honesty, too much communication, not enough communication, whatever the status be? Did it have to do with that that transparency aspect? Like either being too much
so.
or not enough?
I never had any real long-term girlfriends. I didn't date a lot. Like I didn't have a lot of girlfriends. So it was most of the time if I was starting to hang out with a girl, like it didn't go that far. I think largely because of insecurity. I think we inevitably try to what's the thing I'm thinking of? Like slow drip. Like it's slow drip coffee. We don't want to over extract too quickly. Let's just
a tsunami of
drip feed them who we are.
Yeah.
And we drip feed them, men and women, I think, do this. We drip feed them our best first.
Yeah, the potent stuff.
Yeah. This is the best part of me. And I just did the opposite. I think even hindsight, don't know why I did that. But I literally did the opposite. I'm just going to tell her all the bad stuff first. And if she can deal with it, then, well, she knows that it can only get better. So I wouldn't recommend doing that for everyone, but it worked for me.
Shouts out to Nate for staying.
Was that because you met her, or you just gave up on the way you used to see things and then just gave it a chance? Because
I just didn't want to waste time.
But don't you think don't you think love, doesn't it make you do things that, what, I'm giving all these boundaries up, I'm giving it a chance? Was it that something for you, or were you just like, nah, it's from my end, I need to stop doing these things and go for it?
Yeah, it was a combination of that, of what you're saying. I had actually just been in Europe with Breno.
Yeah, that was awesome.
We spent 10 weeks in Europe, and it was
a little bit more than 10 weeks. 10 weeks for the school, and then
10 weeks for the school,
and then we road tripped to Amsterdam, which was awesome,
and Belgium. Good beer there.
Yeah.
So we were in Europe for a while, and we but it was a transformative time. I came back, with my mind, my heart different. And I wouldn't say I was totally changed. I was still Matt, but within the next 2 years, that transformation really came full circle. And so it was in that process and in that time where I met Naomi. So I was also
as you were changing. Yeah.
I was changing, and so I guess I did something different that I wouldn't have done previously because, just to be really simple, I didn't want to waste her time. Yeah. So many guys they think you're not just wasting your own time, you're wasting their time.
There's another heart involved,
another heart involved, and I didn't want to waste her time, and I didn't want to waste my time, at a very probably self-centered level. I just, this is who I am. And I think a lot of the times that relationships don't work is because you've got two people who have never truly been transparent about who they are. And then you've got these two puzzle pieces that you've blue tacked together, and then you realize that the blue tack is actually not a part of you.
Yeah. It's just
the fluff.
The junk, yeah.
And you don't fit together.
Yeah.
So
the transparency is key, right?
Totally. But that
it's
comes
a process as well.
That comes with being comfortable with who you are and being okay with your past and being okay with, your own shortcomings. And I'm pretty self-effacing. I still tell people my problems, like the things that I don't think are great about me, probably before I tell you the good things about me.
Yeah.
That's just my nature. So, but
yeah.
Did you ever feel like you needed to have it all like ready before you had a chick? You feel like you have to have something, for example, like my parents were young when they got married, 25 and 19, and I think they're just getting into life. I think they just got into buying a house, whatever. But to think like my dad did it with someone he just met, and you're taking this person on with you. What if you fail? Like, and then that's potentially like divorce and all that.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever feel like you had to have it all first and then say come into the home, or was it to build together?
I think for me it wasn't about the material, having the material stuff. It wasn't about having that aspect of my life altogether.
It was about security in those areas then.
Nah, not for me, but I'd say for a lot of other people, I'm putting words in people's mouth, but I'd say for a lot of people that is a thing. They want to have it all together before they find the right girl.
No, for sure.
But more important than having it all together physically and financially is having it all together spiritually and emotionally. Like if you're not emotionally in control of the person that you are and spiritually connected to the person I believe God wanted you to be, then it's going to be a lot harder, in my opinion, to have a sustainable relationship, a relationship that's lasting and has longevity. Of course, there's exceptions to that. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I think the fact that both me and Naomi are on the same spiritual journey together, we both love God, we both believe that He's for us, we both believe that there's a higher purpose to being here. So we share a similar worldview, and I think that's really important. And yet we're such different people. Like me and Naomi we're so different. Like she's actually not that quiet, but her nature is a lot more quiet than mine. Mine's a lot
bubbly,
more like out there. She's bubbly. But she's a great listener. I'm more of like, I've had to learn to be a better listener, and so I think God has put two very different people together, but the thing that connects us is that we have a similar worldview. We have a similar passion for reaching people with the gospel. We both have servant hearts. We want to serve people and love people and do good things for people. So this, you got to have like the glue has to be the same glue. You might be totally different pieces, but there's got to be something that glues you together.
Nice. That's cool.
For sure. No, because you can see now, like with a lot of, or some businesses, especially in Newtown, Stanmore, they try to give out more with their businesses and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a reflection of this like capitalism, like everything, like profit.
Yeah.
But there's none of that like give back without promotion sort of thing. Not just give back to give back and not expect back. You know what I mean? But even going through marriage, man, like, do you ever have those times when you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe that I'm actually here.
I just gotta look from my wife. Like, what are you gonna say? I think no, not really. Like, you have moments where you're definitely working stuff out together, and I would say like, just maybe it's just I definitely think I'm not an expert on this, but I think
you sound like an expert on it.
Our generation particularly, and even maybe the next generation. I don't know if I'm a millennial or what my generation.
Yeah, I don't know where we fit in either. I think we're.
I don't even know mine.
Either. I think that we might. I don't.
I think we're Gen Y.
Gen Y. Yeah, I think we're Gen Y. Yeah. So I would say Gen Y and millennials That's the next one, right?
Yeah.
I would say collectively, we're a bit impulsive when it comes to relationships, and we don't know how to. We live too emotionally chaotically. It's like one little thing goes wrong, like blow it up, see you later. Like you got to work. Sometimes you got to work through stuff and not be like just like, for example, me and Naomi when we first started dating, and I reckon this is gold for anyone listening who's just started dating or is in a relationship. We made a decision to never have the word divorce in our vocabulary.
Nice.
In terms of, we wouldn't throw it around jokingly.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't a possibility. Like, so it's
totally. But man, I met so many people, they joke about divorcing their wife.
Yeah.
And like, we would never even joke about it. It's not in our vocabulary.
Yeah.
So we don't even entertain it. Like, I know people have an argument and they're like, maybe we should get a divorce. It's like, well, now you've planted a seed, and whatever seed you plant, you keep watering it. That's going to grow into something that bears fruit, whether that be good fruit or bad fruit. And that's like good smoke. That's like you've got this free flowing entity. You think of smoke, and if you keep blowing it in one direction, it's gonna keep
going that way.
Going that way. And it's like, if you keep watering the same seed and saying, maybe we should get a divorce, even if you're joking about it, the only fruit that can come of that is a bad fruit.
Yeah.
So just make a pre-decision not to have it in your vocabulary.
Speak positive.
Yeah.
Speak positive.
Doesn't even enter my mind.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's people out there, they might not say it, but it enters their mind, like, man, maybe I should get divorced.
Yeah.
Doesn't even enter my mind. And I would say it would never even enter my wife's mind. Yeah. We just don't entertain it. It's not an entertainment.
You know, one thing I noticed when you're talking, and you're talking about your wife, some people that do that, it feels like they're trying to talk for them. But while you're talking,
it's not the same.
I don't feel that with you guys. I feel like you don't even need to look at her to confirm with her, like, I don't feel like my wife's the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with other people, like, I feel like, don't you know, me and my wife sort of like trying to convince the audience and convince themselves, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
we're like this, I promise.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel it's genuine, sort of thing. And I find that in like, and like you said earlier, like, you're a 62-year-old man in a young body. I feel like I feel that vibe from my parents' vibe, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where they've been through a lot, 30 plus years of marriage, man. So
awesome.
And they feel like you got that same genuine, like, you want to do this together and grow, sort of thing. Yeah.
Totally.
Hey, when I kind of was living in the Northern Beaches, you were there. You just started you did a blog for North at the time. And then I'm pretty sure you mentioned to me about an interview with a guy that really loved your Jordans, and about a possibility of doing a blog for something else like that. I don't know if you remember that. But along the way, since you've been doing the business stuff, what has been your artistic expressions during this time, or your outlets? Because I know before you used to draw, write poetry. You're jack of all trades, sort of thing.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of drawing, and I still enjoy drawing, but it's one of those things that you got to set aside time and be disciplined with your creative endeavors. And I think we just moved and with the business, and so I would say my art in particular has been on the back burner, and I'll get back to it at some point. Yep. But creatively, I don't want to make this like a full on Christian flipping
Preach.
radio show.
That's where you live from.
I'm passionate. I'm passionate about God. I'm passionate about communicating the gospel, and the way that you do that is there can be a creativity to it. I mean, God's a creator. God makes things, and so I've just found myself, by His grace and by His provision, in a sphere of influence, in a place where I'm preaching fairly regularly, not every week, but might be once a month or once every 2 months. And if I'm not preaching, I'll be giving a message at youth or whatever it is. So that in itself there is an art to it, and there is a discipline to being a good preacher. And there's a lot of people who want the pulpit, but they don't want the process.
Yeah. And that's what we're about here, like trying to expose or give exposure to the process, because everyone sees the top of the mountain guy. Yeah, we made it.
Yeah.
I've got the gold. We've done it. And then everyone looks at it and is like, man, I wish I was like that. And it's discouraging because you're not even seeing. That's why I like boxing, because in boxing, a lot of the videos, no matter what, it's always about struggle. And even if you don't see those videos, you know that a boxer goes through the ups and downs sort of thing.
Totally.
But we don't sort of carry it to everyday work life.
Yeah.
Like we just see the guy, he's got the car and whatever, but we don't see how did he get the car.
Of course, and I feel like that's been key things. I don't know if you remember, there was a ballet movie back in the day where I feel like changed the understanding of modern of everyday people understanding that, wait a sec, these ballet girls themselves through hell, and boys as well, put themselves through hell physically, like not being able to walk throughout the week because of a performance or blood, blisters and all that sort of stuff. And you think, wait a sec, here's this beautiful, elegant thing like ballet, and it's got its dirty rags as well to get to that place, you know. So a lot of people see the craft. They see that commentator that goes, man, do you see how easy he did that? Made it look effortless. But the reason he made it look effortless was because of all the effort it took. You know what I mean? Like, so my cousin Perry is a locksmith, and but he's also a fighter. So we're gonna have him on the show in a few weeks to come, hopefully. But he talks about when he goes to fix someone to get into a door or whatever, someone's at a lockout, and it'll take him 5 minutes. And they'll go, man, you're going to charge me that much for 5 minutes? And he goes, I'm not charging you that much for 5 minutes. I'm charging you that much because it took me 4 years and 5 minutes to figure out how to do that, you know? Like it just wasn't 5 minutes here, you know?
Totally.
Like, I learned to make it 5 minutes for you so I can charge this much. Otherwise, it'll take 2 hours and I'll charge you double, you know, like or whatever. So, yeah, I think process is really important, and people, especially for me growing up, I felt like there was this real this lack of understanding that we'd hear practice makes perfect, but there was no one around us practicing and showing how practicing looks and improves the areas. And oh my God, it actually leads to perfection. You know, like there was none of that. It was just fancy sayings and no one really doing anything. You know?
Totally.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Radio Skid Row 88.9. We've got about 20 minutes left, so I'm going to play maybe 2 songs and we'll wrap it up because we finish at 8. And we got the Ghana show next. So
we do.
It's Radio Skid Row 88.9. It's 1950.
It's 1950. I thought it was 2019.
That's the 24-hour time.
Oh,
yeah.
perfect.
So it's 7:50. We got about 10 minutes left. We're gonna chop it up at 7 minutes and get out of here. We want to wrap it up, but just quickly, we were talking about art just before. We got off the
topic,
the songs, the
song
break.
Went to the socks. Yep.
And then to the socks. Yeah.
Yeah.
To the song break and then
Boston Red Sox.
And we'll talk about art, and apparently we've dug up some information and we've snooped into his life. And you want to introduce it?
No, he's right here. We've introduced
that part of the section.
No, so Matt Whiteley. Whiteley is a famous name in the art world here in Australia, I guess. So is Naomi related to a famous Brett Whiteley? No, like Brett Whiteley's a relative, right?
Yeah. So Naomi's related through me, I
Through
guess,
you
in
now.
a weird way. Yeah,
she looks a lot like Brett. That's why I thought
it's
it was
skin
uncanny.
colour, I
It
think,
was
and the
uncanny.
hair.
Yeah.
Similar hair.
Yeah. The matter thing is, you both like you got similar hair to Brett as well, don't you?
If my hair was short, it would be like
Like
my
a little-
hair is
little afro,
curly,
yeah.
but I it's not curly when it's pulled back in a
Pulled back,
bun.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah. If it was short, it'd be curly, but not as curly as his.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Brett Whiteley was my dad's cousin. So they were first cousins and grew up together and pretty close. But Brett was 6 years older than my dad, so.
Do you remember him around the house or like ever in the family?
I only
gatherings?
met Brett once. I did meet Brett when I was a kid down at the beach. He was down at Whale Beach. I think he spent a fair bit of time down there.
Where he did is that where he did a lot of his art around? Was he a Northern Beaches lad?
No. He was originally from like I think it's Rose Bay. That
Oh yeah.
from
Eastern
the
suburbs,
east.
yeah.
Yeah, eastern
Shout out to
suburbs.
the east.
Yeah. So yeah, Dad grew up in Rose Bay, and Brett was a wild kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started reading one of his, not his, but
Or yours.
a biography on him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
You're like, whoa.
he's a wild kid.
Yeah.
Like he kidnapped the next door neighbor's cat and held it ransom on
Catnap.
top of the garage, like for real,
Why?
because he wanted something. Like he wanted money, or I can't remember what he
Yeah,
wanted.
yeah,
He
yeah.
wanted something, so he's like, I'm gonna kidnap their cat and I'm going to kill the cat unless you give me what I want.
Yeah.
Like, he's just a wild.
It's weird like that.
Even from a real young age, like one of those wild kids.
Yeah. There's those kids that are more like, I don't know, conscious of who they are when they're little. So they got the confidence to do that sort of stuff.
Totally knew who he was.
Yeah, and go up to people and talk like they're little adults sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I even freak out on the little kids that know that I can ask, hey, can I have some? And it's not weird because I'm young, so they'll do it, even though it's awkward.
You shouldn't know that.
You shouldn't know that, you know?
No, that's like
not to take advantage of, you know? That's the inside news or whatever, inside information.
Yeah.
So could you say like art or like expressing yourself through arts runs in the family or?
Yeah, I guess it does. Although my dad can barely draw a stick figure. I remember as a kid we used to play Pictionary, and he'd really get pissed off because
he didn't know how to draw.
Like he couldn't draw. Yeah. So he'd be like, I don't want to play that game. He'd be like a little kid. You know, like he'd throw the pencil across the room, scrunch up the piece of paper. Because I remember one day he tried to draw a bus and it was just a rectangle.
Just a rectangle.
That was it. I'm not even joking. Didn't even have wheels.
Just a rectangle.
What would you guess? Like chocolate bar or something?
Square?
Yeah, it's not even because can't be a rectangle because that's exactly what you've drawn. So it's hinting at something. Yeah, no, for sure.
So you got brothers and sisters?
I've got a sister. Yeah.
And you're older?
I'm older by 3 years, and she's creative. Yeah, she can paint.
Nice.
She's got a really creative, artistic eye. She's an interior designer, not an interior decorator. Interior designer. Right, got her own company.
Nice.
Hey, just curious. I know we kind of went off topic on Brett a bit, but just curious if you have a different understanding than what people paint as Australia's number one painter artist. And I don't mean in like a negative light or something. Like, I mean, I feel like Shakespeare in his time wasn't, no one thought he was doing awesome. And then it's only years later that you start that people start acknowledging the works that he's done. Like, did the same thing happen in Brett's life? Like when he was doing his stuff early on, was he kind of cast aside, or was he always the amazing artist that he became?
He was pretty well known from a young age. He won a scholarship. I could be butchering this, but he won a scholarship to Italy, I think, when he was about 18, and then he won a bunch of other awards. So he was pretty young when he started winning. Yeah, and you can actually look at some of his art from when he was a kid, 14. I think there's one from when he was 14. He drew a guy playing cricket, and just his style, even as a 14-year-old, was similar to him as an adult. Like the real sweeping lines, real big on curves and movement.
Yeah.
Really cool. Like it's so he put a lot of work into his craft for sure. Like a lot of people wouldn't know how good of a drawer he was. Technically, he was a good drawer too. As you see his drawing, and he has distorted the lines, and
that's right.
They have elongated limbs and arms and necks and breasts, and the foundation of that was that he was a very good technical drawer as well. So
seems like that all the time, eh? Like the technical drawer is just like fed up with the traditional way.
Yeah,
you start getting like Picasso.
But most musicians who are really good, who are making some weird stuff, have had a classical
background.
Most rappers, they will have grown up, playing keys or drums, and they'll have a real clear understanding of the history of hip hop the history of black music, and it's like they're quite
knowledgeable about it.
Yeah.
Or even with R&B singers, they pretty much always start from the church.
Totally.
Like they're always in the choir or some sort.
They got their roots in knowledge of jazz. They know singers with big voices and stuff, and I've always been listening to them growing up. Yeah. I feel like I guess that might make a difference. Like I never grew up listening. Like the biggest voice I probably would have heard was Celine Dion. But so I'm not busting around the house like singing my lungs out. But I'm guessing if you were a young cat, where in your house there's just powerful voices, you're always just busting out, and it kind of just sets you towards that trend a bit, eh?
Yeah, totally. And I think growing up in a household where my dad, even though they're first cousins, they're not brothers, but dad was always super proud to be related to Brett.
Sure,
And so dad was always talking about Brett, and there's, art books were always open
to Brett.
They were always on the coffee table.
Yeah.
Brett Whiteley was always
For
a
sure,
part
man.
of our
Family.
life growing up, and
Yeah.
I think that rubs off on you. You know, you want to draw. It could be a big shadow as well. Like my art is nothing like his.
Yeah.
My style is nothing like his, but
it's epic still. Like,
Runs
man,
through the
I've
veins
got a
and blood.
piece of Matt's that I got the first Matt Whiteley. And
Yeah.
it's not
An
the first one.
he's got an
I've got an
original
original
Whiteley,
Matt
yeah.
Whiteley.
Oh, nice.
So I got original Whiteley. But I was gonna say with like I just picture your dad, you know, on the coffee table having the magazine, like having the art books and, you know, just newspaper articles, making sure he cuts or whatever it might have been. Because at the end of the day, it's like, and I say this with like not fear and trembling, but like I know it might be taken out of context, but it's like the name Whiteley is Australian royalty because of Brett. I genuinely feel that
in
it's,
the art world, yeah,
but,
for sure.
But in art like, you know, like it's so transcending of culture. Like, so I look at that Whiteley documentary that was back in the day, and when he gets asked the question, "Who are you?" and he goes, "I am," and he just gives these all like esoteric views of who he is, and I'm thinking that cat is so far, like he's such a forward thinker that people now are probably still going, okay, I see what he was
That's
doing.
what he meant.
Yeah, or like be able to understand that, like the pursuits he had then, because I feel like maybe the world around him back then just wasn't built to appreciate or understand a gentleman like himself. So therefore you find yourself really just kind of having to mask certain things that people just can't handle about yourself. Where nowadays, I just say that because 5 years ago, you'd have conversations that nowadays could be completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
Or 5 years ago, you could have had conversations that could only be had behind closed doors, and now they're common conversations you can hear in a coffee shop. So, like, I just think about what it would look like as a Brett Whiteley in 2019. Would he find himself flourishing in a different manner, or was the tension of the artistic lifestyle he had what led him to do what he did? You know, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It touches on a lot of bigger political, social issues that, you know, you could spend hours.
We only got 5
into.
minutes, so let's get into that.
But you know, PC, like we do have to be. It feels to me like there's a lot of political correctness in our society, and
for sure.
No.
And that's a big subject in itself. But
yeah.
But I feel like with art and all that sort of stuff, it pushes those boundaries and
transcends.
And I feel
a bit,
like
you know?
those things are getting attacked now because those are the most free things, like comedy, movies.
Comedy's huge.
Yeah.
I love how comedy can just, man.
But now that's becoming, like you said, PC. You know what I mean?
But it's so necessary to keep comedy, like stand up. I remember reading an article about, I think it was when the whole gay marriage thing was out, and the only medium that could like even remotely kind of touch on any sort of criticism or like alternate view than like pro gay
or
marriage,
even poke fun at it,
or even poke fun at it was coming from some of the stand up comedians. That's necessary to keep a
even keel almost.
Yeah, a healthy discourse in our society where people feel like they can talk about stuff, and I reckon we're entering into it's scary when the world wants to silence opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I've heard it said once that it's really dangerous when society thinks offended means correct.
Yeah.
And that's the dangerous thing. Just because you're offended doesn't mean that's like that you're right, just because, you know, or... Yeah, so I think that's really, really interesting as well. And
I think we have to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen.
Unfortunately. We could talk for a few more hours.
We have a pregnant lady in the room, and she can get tired, so we have to be considerate. But anyway, thank you for joining the Good Smoke. We do have Garner Show next. Hopefully we can start getting here and on time so we can do this. Probably, you know, the traffic in Sydney, how it is around 6 o'clock, it gets freaking crazy.
And from the Northern Beaches, that's my bad. It wasn't their fault. It was my bad first show.
This is how we are for thing. We have to set up, and all the shows go consistently behind each other, so... You got that like little gap window. So
to set up.
But ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. This is the Good Smoke. Remember, we're here every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Remember to check out radioskidrow.org, goodsmoke.com.au. And what about you, man? We need to show your handles on Instagram if they want to check out stuff.
Yeah, your roasting
go
company.
Kingdom Coffee. Kingdom Roasters is my Instagram.
Yep.
Kingdom Roasters. Yeah,
Kingdom Roasters. Start following us if you need if you're looking at opening a coffee shop.
Or
hit us up.
Yeah.
It can supply coffee, supply equipment.
That's
And
right.
I'm pretty
We
sure
gotcha.
if they want to find out more about your non-for-profit approach, they could hit you up and find out as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
if
sure.
there's any business
Social media.
owners or anything out there listening.
Especially if they're wanting to approach their business with a different view. Maybe you have the same mission as Kingdom Roasters. So,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Radio
collab.
Skid Row 88.9. You're listening to Good Smoke.